I've just had the time to play a lot of Immortal Empires recently, and I think I have defined enough my way of playing the game's multiple campaigns. And believe me when I say this, there is a lot of factions in this game. Welcome! In this short video I will showcase to you my top 10 factions I love to play as in Total War Warhammer 3's Immortal Empires. Starting off in number 10, I have Repanse de Lyonesse with the Chevalier de Lyonesse. Repanse walks in the footsteps of ancient errantry knights amongst the coast of Araby's haunted dunes, smiting Bretonnia's enemies in the lady's name. For the faction effects, we have a control +3 for all provinces, an upkeep -50% for embedded heroes, a melee defense +8 for questing knights, a diplomatic relations -80 with vampire counts, vampire coasts and tomb kings. And for the load effects we have a chivalry +4 per turn, a physical resistance 5% for all peasants units, a leadership +5 for peasants units, and the ability Allow of Maidenly Wrath. So Bretonnia overall is a really weak faction, however I do find myself enjoying this campaign simply because of one thing: easy early game enemies for peasants, which mostly consist of skeletons of the Tomb Kings in the east and in the south. Ogres up in the south as well as Satorsa up north can be a bit of a problem and a bit of a challenge, but if you're quick enough you can defeat Archaon the Black, for example, and have the south secured for the majority of the game. You also have access of easy confederations, as there is other Bretonnian factions near you. There is also a pretty much secured military alliance with the dwarves, as well as Volkmar the Grim in the far south. I do also like the 5-turn mechanic in the Great Desert, as you don't want your armies to die of thirst. Overall, you can have fun with Bretonnia against Skeleton's armies. You'll get easy XP, easy money and chivalry, and that is why to me Repanse de Lyonesse comes in at number 10. We will stay in Araby for now, because coming in at number 9 I have Settra the Imperishable of Khemri. From the dunes of the Khemri desert, Settra sets out to dominate Neekara and force all Force sovereigns to yield to him, King of Kings. Faction effects, we have allegiance points gain +50% for alliances with the Tomb Kings, a construction time -1 for all buildings with a minimum of 1 turn, and a growth of +20 in our provinces. And for the Lord effects, we have a casualty replenishment rate +10% in the Lord's army, a leadership aura size +100%, and finally a local recruitment capacity of +1 for all provinces. So with the current mechanic of the armies of the Tomb Kings, you can have multiple armies technically for free, which can make a really good domination kind of campaign. Now, you have two big enemies, I think. You have Skaubrand up in the north, as well as Volkmar down south, unless you can try your way into a non-aggression pact for early game. You also have other Tomb Kings factions for easy pickings, as well as Repanse de Lyonesse in the west. The Tomb Kings also have one of the best units in the game, I feel like, which are the chariots, and in fact Settra can also have one chariot of his own. But overall, Settra can have a powerful early game army when used correctly, and if you're looking for the domination kind of stuff, Khemri might be for you, and to me it comes in at number 9. Alright, we're moving to Austria, with coming in at number 8 I have Gor-Rok from Itza. In Itza, the first city of the Little Men, Gor-Rok stands at the helm of Austria's martial might in the Juggles continent's heartland. For the factions effect, we have a right of the resilience berry and defense bonuses for Saurus. You start the campaign with the control of Lord Krok. The barrier hit points plus 500 for all units when defending settlements, as well as defensive supplies plus 500. For the Lord effects, we have a unit mass of plus 15% in the Lord's army, as well as a missile resistance 10% in the Lord's army. So Settra is probably the best Lyonesse faction campaign-wise. It starts strongly with one powerful legendary hero, which is the legendary Lord Gor-Rok, and usually you want to head down south to deal with easy scaven pickings, which is the clan's pestilence. Now you also have to bear in mind of Marcus Warfart up in the very north, who can easily come down south, as well as Vampire Caust that are mostly in the east. But, and thanks to a really good tech, an army roster and a focus tree, Settra can easily gain control of the south of Lustria. Overall, and despite the very costly units, Gor-Rok has the best faction to tame the Skaven and the rest of the Lyonesse, I think. That's why to me Settra comes in at number 8. We're going into the Darklands now, because coming in at number 7 I have Tretch Craventail from the clan Rictus. Tretch has returned home to scheme in Crookback Mountain and spread Clan Rictus's infestations over the Darklands. So for the faction effects, we have Scurry Away has improved effects and grants a minor ward save while active. You gain an ambush success chance of plus 25% for all armies, and Vanguard deployment for all units, a menace below plus 1 use for all armies, and an enemy reinforced time plus 50%, all that for 3 turns after declaring a war. You also have an attribute of Encourage for Storm Vermin units, and an additional plus 1 armor and base weapon damage per unit experience rank for all Clanrats and Storm Vermin. For the Lord effects, we have an attribute of Devastating Flankers for all units in the army, as well as melee attack plus 13 during ambushes for the Lord's army, and a melee attack of plus 13 after retreating when attacked in the Lord's army. So I'm not a fan of Skaven mechanics, personally, in the campaign, but Clan Rictus is, to me, very enjoyable to play, thanks to mostly the faction's effects that can save your game most of the time, and especially against Imric and the High Elves, as well as Dwarves in the west, Greenskins up north, and Ogres all around. Now, a lot of people say that Iked Claw is a bit more enjoyable, but I just prefer Tretch a bit more, really. Overall, Tretch has a good focus tree, and if you focus on the units, this Lord army can be very devastating early game, even against Chaos forces as well as Ogre's forces, and I just love Tretch overall, and he comes in at number 7. We go up north now, because coming in at number 6 I have Vlad von Carstein of Sylvania. Vlad has returned home to his rightful seat at the castle Drakenhof to rule over Sylvania with his wife Isabella at his side. For the faction effects, we start with 1 Blood Kiss, we have access to unique buildings in Castle Drakenhof, a campaign movement range of plus 10% for all armies, and you start with Isabella von Carstein as a legendary hero. For the Lord effects, we have a battle healing cap of plus 50% when in an army with Isabella von Carstein, and all units in Vlad von Carstein's army receive Vanguard deployment. So with Isabella at your side, plus the plus 10% campaign movement range right in the beginning of the campaign, you can easily dominate the Empire if you're quick enough. The Blood Kiss can also be very useful, and even with like the nerf and the rework of the Vampire Cults overall since Total War Warhammer 2, Vlad is still a very powerful threat to the Empire. You do have to keep in mind though that there is also Greenskins in the east and down south. You also have Dwarves, but with the early game roster of the Vampire Counts that are pretty bad really, it consists really of skeletons and zombies, I usually stay away from the Dwarves as long as I can, until I get a good army. Overall, despite the nerfs, I think Sylvania is still very good to play in my opinion, and it comes in at number 6. We go back to RRB, because coming in at number 5 I have Volkmar the Grim of the Cult of Sigmar. So Volkmar's zeal has taken him to Suddenburg on the very border of the Great Desert of RRB, where he aims to cleanse the world of corruption, heresy and undeath. For the faction effects, we have that Volkmar is able to collect and seal the books of Nagash, increasing his military prowess and preventing them from being exploited by others. We have a hero recruit rank +4 for witch hunters and warrior priests, and a bonus versus infantry +8 for Flagellant, Empire Knights and Free Company militia units, and finally a cooldown of -33% to battle prayers and accusation. For the road effect we have a control +4 to the local province, a physical resistance of 10% for Flagellants, Empire Knights and Free Company militia units in the Lord's army, and finally a melee defense of +8 for Flagellant, Empire Knights and Free Company militia units in the Lord's army. So the Empire is still very good to play. We have good units, good lords, good heroes, and the two kings generally don't stand a chance against them. Now, you do have green skins and wood elves, as well as Krogar in the east, which is why you need to hurry on getting a huge territory of your own, Camry if possible. I always go north to get Camry first, and also getting help from other factions like Repanse de Lyonesse, for example, up north. Volkmar also has a really good lore of magic. Overall, I really didn't expect Volkmar to be this good since Total War Warhammer 2, but he is, and to me he's pretty good now, and this is why he comes in at number 5. Alright, we have finally a Total War Warhammer 3 faction, and the only Total War Warhammer 3 faction, because coming in at number 4 I have Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon of the Western Provinces. The Iron Dragon spreads his power in Western Cathay, striking out from Qiang to head off belligerent descenders and emboldened enemies. For the faction effects, we have a maximum cargo capacity of +20% for caravans, a hero recruitment ranks of +5 for alchemists, a upkeep of -25% for ogre mercenary units, and a armor +15 for melee units. For the world effects, we have a magic item drop chance +100%, a upkeep -25% for melee units in the Lord's army, and the harmony +3 yang. I honestly didn't think I would like Cathay's campaign. I didn't like the Realms of Chaos wave very much, but I do love Green Cathay's campaign and the Western Provinces, and I do love the yin and the yang mechanics that can get you easy boost, especially for early game. You also have the caravan mechanic, which I adore. Can give you something more to do each turn if your plan is to stay mostly in the regions of Cathay. For example, you can battle benches, and the lord that leads the caravan actually has a focus tree of his own with bonuses for the caravan as well as for the army who is protecting the caravan. I found Zhao Ming to be quite interesting in battle with the dragon mechanics and such. So overall, a good surprise, as I was pretty underwhelmed by the other Total War Warhammer 3 factions of the Realms of Chaos campaign. And to me, Zhao Ming deserves the place at number 4. Alright, let's finish this video with the top 3, and coming in at number 3 I have Archaon, the Everchosen of the Warhost of the Apocalypse. The Everchosen sets out to dominate the Chaos Waste with his will and ferocity, starting at the Withing Fortress. For the faction effects, we have a maximum active gifts of +1 for Gifts of Chaos Undivided, and a research rate of +10% for per each vassalized faction. We have also a diplomatic relation +10 with the Demons of Chaos, Warriors of Chaos, Beastmen and Norska for each vassalized faction, and a souls +25 per turn from each vassalized faction. For the Lord's effect, we have a unit gain +3% weapon and missile strength per rank achieved in the Lord's army. We have a All Authority +1 in the Lord's army, and finally a ward save +5% in the Lord's army. Although I'm not a fan of the vassal mechanic really, the other mechanic, however, which gives you gifts for units in your army, is really good and was needed since maybe the very first Total War Warhammer game, and I love Archaon. I love the lore around this character, and in fact he might be my favorite character in Warhammer Fantasy. Archaon was also redone magic-wise, and now he does not only have the lore of fire anymore, I believe he has also the lore of death and such. At last, justice was made for the Warriors of Chaos, because the gameplay is so much better than it was in the past 2 games. Overall, Archaon is a fun experience, in my opinion, and with 4 Chaos Gods, it's good that you can now yourself do your end times against the old world, and to me that is good enough to come in at number 3. Let's come back to 2015, because coming in at number 2 I have the Emperor Karl Franz of the Reichland. Karl Franz retains his high seat in Altdorf at the heart of the Empire as threats new and old close in. On all sides, for the faction effects, we have a diplomatic relations plus 10 with the Empire, a prestige plus 25% gain from all battles, a lord recruit rate plus 2, and a campaign movement range of plus 10% for all armies. For the lord effects, we can replenish in neutral territory in the lord's army. We have an upkeep of minus 25% for Reichsguards and Greatswords units in the Lord's Army, a passive ability of Guardian for Reichsguard and Greatswords units in the Lord's Army, and finally a charge bonus of plus 10 in the Lord's Army. Really, what can I say that hasn't been said about Sigmar's Will and to summon dialect accounts? It's a pretty strong faction with a very strong legendary lord, Karl Franz. It might be the most nostalgic faction of the game, since most of us, I think, played the Empire for the first time in Total War Warhammer, and with the prestige mechanic from Total War Warhammer 2, it can be really fun to finally re-experience for a third time the might of the Emperor with the entire Immortal Empires experience. Overall, it is still fun to be the Empire as it was back in 2015, and that is why it comes in at number 2. Alright, and finally coming in at number 1, I have Tyrion from Ethan. In Ethan's Phoenix Court, Prince Tyrion is entrusted to secure a Renegade Health 1 and bring the world under high elf protections. Once again, for the faction effects, we have a diplomatic relations plus 10 with high elves, as well as a construction time of minus 50% for Shrine of Cain building, and a recruitment duration minus 1 for infantry and cavalry units in a minimum of 1. For the lord effects, we have an upkeep of minus 50% for Spearmen, Silver Guard, Rangers, Archers, and Silver Helms units in the Lord's Army, and finally a recurrent rank of plus 3 for the Lord and Sea Guard units in the Lord's Army. I just cannot help it. I just love the High Elves. In fact, I think at least I made them most of the time in solo and in multiplayer. They are really good in battle, and I just love them. I love the High Elves. I cannot help it. This campaign being easy, it's a good first experience for most of us. At least it was for me back in Total War Warhammer 2, and it still is in Total War Warhammer 3's Immortal Empires. Like, if I want to do a campaign but not too difficult and I want to chill a bit, I usually go for Tyrion. He has a really good focus tree as well as a really good tech. Slaanesh is on Oath 1 now, but it's not that much of a problem if you manage your eco well, as well as your armies. Which you should most of the time because of how simple this campaign can be. Overall, I still think it's a good campaign, a good first experience, even if it might be the easiest campaign of the game, and Tyrion is still really powerful in battle as well as in campaign. And this is why, to me, Tyrion of Ethan comes in at number 1, and to me is my favorite faction of the game. Thanks for watching.